Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So today I wanted to make a little video speaking about my experiences as a freelance writer living in Tokyo and how I got to where I am now. I've been doing paid freelance writing for almost an entire year now, and in the process of doing that I've gotten paid to do some really cool stuff and to have some really amazing experiences. And I thought that maybe this is something that a small portion of you are interested in hearing about, particularly those of you who are looking at moving to Japan or moving to Tokyo one day. So without further ado, let's jump into the video and I'm going to speak about my experiences as a freelance writer living in Tokyo. Okay, so I'm going to make this quite clear from the beginning for those of you who are new here. Hi, my name is Christy. I am an English teacher living in Tokyo and I do freelance writing on the side. There are very few people living here who will be doing freelance writing full time. Those people work very hard. They have a million different contacts and generally they're freelance writers before they come here because they come here with lots and lots of people who they're prepared to do work for. It's very difficult to move to a place with no contacts and just be a freelancer from the outset. So I just, as I said, wanted to make that clear. My main thing is that I am an English teacher. Now, for a lot of foreigners living in Japan, freelance writing is a fantastic way to make extra money on the side, or it's a really wonderful hobby that a lot of people have. There are quite a number of English-speaking magazines here in Tokyo, so there are quite a few places you can submit to, and there's a lot of opportunities that are there to be taken if you're willing to work really hard for them. So yeah, I just wanted to make that quite clear. I am not a freelance writer full-time. It's just a very small part of my income, and that is what happens with the vast majority of people who do freelance writers here. Who are freelance writers here, sorry. I know quite a few English teachers who also do this on the side just like I do. The online magazines I have written for are Savvy Tokyo, Gaijin Pot, the blog and the website, and Japan Today. These are reasonably big magazines, so they pay for submissions. Not every magazine that you come across is going to pay you. I think so far this year I've written like 11 articles. As I said, freelance writing is not my main thing. In addition to being an English teacher, I am also a postgraduate student and I work on my own writing stuff creatively. It's just freelance writing is something I do in a long list of other stuff that I do as well. Now, the way I got into freelance writing here was I saw a Facebook ad by Savvy Tokyo. I hadn't heard of Savvy Tokyo before seeing this ad. Best Facebook ad of my life. I clicked on it and then I started checking out Savvy. I read quite a few of their articles and I thought, wow, this is a really good website. Savvy Tokyo, for those of you who don't know, is a website targeted at female expats living in Tokyo. So after reading through all of these articles and thinking, wow, I love this. This is a really good magazine. I sent off an application and very happily my editor got back to me and she said, we would love to have you. Please open up a Japanese bank account and we'll start you off at 1 article per month. So that's basically how it started. It was super easy. I sent through an application to Savvy Tokyo and then all of a sudden I was a contributor. I didn't even know if it was paid at the time. I wasn't certain. I just wanted some writing experience. I wanted something else to do. So I just decided to go for it, and quite conveniently it ended up being a paid opportunity. This was huge for me. In September of last year, my very first paid writing piece was published. It was so big. I was so proud of it. The article was called 6 Convenient and well-stocked health food stores in Tokyo. And at the time when I was writing this very first article, I had pitched this in my initial application and it was the one they wanted to start with. It was a bit too ambitious because during this time, for those of you who have watched my video, like what's my job in Japan, you'll know that I was going through a bit of an internship debacle where I wasn't getting paid for the work I was doing and all this stuff, and it was really stressful, and we had no money at this time and I couldn't justify how expensive the trains would be to go to all these different health food stores for this article. So I walked between all these health food stores and some of them were very far away from each other. But yeah, basically I just took 2 days and walked heaps of Tokyo taking these pictures of these health food stores, and it was actually a lot of fun in hindsight, and I have a very, very fond memory of it. And I worked really hard in that article, and they said that they were super happy with it, and they were super impressed by like how much effort I had put in. So that was a really, really good thing that I tried so hard to write a good article, because as I will explain in a minute, it's really important that you put in a lot of effort into making your articles really, really good if you are starting out as a freelance writer. But yeah, off topic, my first article was about health food stores. I have always been very, very diligent with my writing. Generally, I submit all of my articles like 2 days or so before their deadlines. I make sure everything is immaculately formatted to fit the style guide of the magazine. I make sure that all of the pictures are really, really good. If there's a problem, if I'm struggling to write the article, if it's not working, I contact my editor and tell my editor well before the deadline. I do all of this to make my editor's life as easy as possible, and this is really, really important, because if you have a good application, it's really, really easy to get an article published with one of these magazines. Now, there isn't just Savvy Tokyo, Gaijin Pot, and Japan Today. There are heaps of other English magazines in Tokyo. Metropolis Japan is another one that I considered submitting to. And I think if you live in Kyoto, there's the Kyoto Journal as well, but there are so many more that I haven't even looked into because I was happy with the 3 I was submitting to. There are so many magazines, and generally they'll just have an application button on their website that you can apply to. It's super easy to make a good application and apply and have them say, yeah, sure, you can write an article. But if you want to keep getting opportunities, if you want to get better opportunities, you need to make a good impression. You need to work very, very hard, and you need to make sure that you are professional, polite, that the stuff you make is up to a really, really good standard, because your editor is going to be the person who gives you more opportunities. So be friends with your editor, be nice to your editor, be respectful to your editor, and basically just make their life as easy as possible. And this really, really pays off in the case of me. My editor actually recommended me to another member of their staff who was looking for someone to write an advertorial piece. Advertorial is basically a mashup of advertising and editorial work. So essentially, it's when an advertiser comes to a magazine like Savvy Tokyo or Gaijin Pot and says, I would like to advertise this particular product, please write an article about it. And the magazine will pick a writer to commission to do it, and they'll set a budget, and they'll do all of this stuff, and the writer will go off and write the article. Advertorial articles pay so much better than regular articles. They can often be a lot more work because obviously you have a client that you're trying to make happy and you're trying to impress, but they pay so much better because there's an advertiser putting more money into this piece. I did not even know that these opportunities existed. I had just been working really, really hard to make good articles for the regular content I was doing. My editor recommended me to someone else who was like, hey, do you want to write this advertorial piece? And I was like, oh my goodness, yes, this would be wonderful. So as soon as that opportunity came up, I started doing advertorial work, and that meant that I increased the number of articles I was doing per month. The coolest advertorial I've done, and the coolest thing I've done by far, was the Hakone trip that I went on a couple weeks ago. I loved that trip. I got paid to go to Hakone for 2 days to stay in a nice hotel that had an onsen attached to it, and to just go gallivanting around the mountains and take pictures and go to museums and eat amazing food. And it was like the best weekend of my life, and I loved it, and it was so much fun. But yeah, not only was those 2 days all expenses paid, I didn't have to pay for anything. Like, I got like this amazing, amazing food, expensive food for free. I also got paid really, really well to go and write that article. That was like the most magical 2 days ever. I loved Hakone, it was so good. And I would have never gotten that opportunity if I wasn't so dedicated to working really, really hard to be a good, consistent, trustable writer. Like, as I said, I always make sure everything I do is on time, it's good quality, I'm highly responsive to emails, which makes me very, very reliable in the eyes of my editors. Like, no editor is going to trust a flaky, non-responsive person to go off on an amazing miniature holiday which they don't have to pay for and then produce an article out of it. You have to work really hard, but if you do work hard, it really, really pays off. And yeah, that basically sums up my experience of being a freelance writer working here. Those 3 magazines I mentioned, Savvy Tokyo, Gaijin Pot, and Japan Today, they're all owned by the same company. So I had the same editors mostly for all 3. Basically, I was writing for Savvy Tokyo, and then I got recommended to a different editor who gave me opportunities for Gaijin Pot and Japan Today. Through Savvy, I got all of these other different opportunities, and I was very, very fortunate and very lucky. And I've loved working with the people at this particular company. They've been so nice, they've been so supportive, and it's just a brilliant company, and I'm very, very happy with them. To be quite honest, the only reason I didn't submit to Metropolis or other places is because I really didn't have any spare time. With being an English teacher and a student and working on my own stuff and doing this YouTube channel, I only really had time for 1 or 2 articles a month. But yeah, the main advice I can give if you want to be a freelancer living here is come here with the intention of having a good stable job in something else. Like, come here to be an English teacher, or come here because you have another job set up, and then build your freelancing on the side. Like, no one comes here and just makes a living from being a freelancer off the bat. Unless you're a professional freelance writer already back in your home country, then you're totally fine. You can just come here, that's okay. The only thing you have to worry about then is your visa. But if you want to do freelancing and you don't have any experience, you don't have clients, you don't have contacts, I would recommend coming over here and getting a good stable job that's going to pay your rent, and then just do freelancing on the side. Also, if you have absolutely no experience at all in freelance writing and you've already come here and you already want to do freelance writing, I would recommend really, really working on your application. Obviously, I'm a master's student in English literature. I have experience writing for other magazines before moving to Japan. Most of that experience was writing for my university magazine, which was obviously volunteer work, but I did have experience writing before coming here. So all of that made my application to write for Savvy a lot better. If you don't have any experience, if you don't have access to like a university publication or a local newspaper or something, and you want to get experience before coming here, I would definitely recommend starting a blog. Just write some practice articles, write some listicles, write some top 10 favorite movies list and stuff like that. Because not only is it practice for you, but it's a place where you can showcase your work. It's a place where you can just grab a link from it and put it in your application so they can see that you're interested in writing and this isn't just like a whim that you're going on. I don't think you need any experience to apply for these places. If you don't have experience, I definitely still recommend you apply to write for Gaijin Pot, you apply to write for Savvy, or you apply to write for Metropolis or wherever it is. But to make your application look better, if you don't have experience already, I definitely recommend writing a blog. And yeah, do your very best with the initial application. Obviously, that's going to be your gateway into freelance writing here in Tokyo. And then once you have your first writing opportunity, work your butt off at it, because this is a very, very flooded market. There are so many foreigners living here who want to write for these magazines. There are so many people who would love the opportunity to be paid to write travel content, or who would love to be paid to write listicles on things about Japan. And yeah, I hope this video was enlightening to some of you. I hope it was interesting or helpful. I don't think there's very many people who are looking at becoming freelance writers in Tokyo, but in case I have helped anyone. And yeah, if I've left anything out, if you have like burning questions or you want to ask for advice or something like that, please put it in the comments down below. I will do my very best to answer everyone. This is something that I would have been very much interested in before I came here, so I would really like to be as helpful with this as I can. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have a lovely day. Bye bye.